Hello, it's the Ancestors Advocate again, coming with another video in the Ancestor Veneration Video Series, and this is video number 8. And the topic of this video is understanding the correspondence of life between the ancestral community and the earthbound community, meaning those who are in the ancestral realm, those that have transitioned, and those that are still living on Earth. You can kind of picture an as above, so below kind of relationship or correspondence. Um, I like that way of looking at it. I'll start with a story. Well, it's not much of a story, but something my dad told me when I was young. Uh, we're having some, casual conversations at the dinner table, and he would tell me, and he'd tell the whole family that, with regards to ancestors, those who have deceased, sometimes uh, they would speak through the mouth of a child. If there's something going on in the community that they were not pleased with or they felt needed their input on, it could be something that was, personal to them, that was mishandled after they were gone, or something to do with the family or community at large. It was not uncommon for the ancestor to speak using the mouth of a child, so the child would be the vessel. And they'll know who it is because the child would have the voice of that adult person that has now departed, at least from the physical body or physical domain. Right? So just imagine a little boy or a little girl, and they sound like a 60-year-old person. And they're speaking of things that are very mature, beyond their age and even beyond their time on Earth itself. And they're telling people, hey, you know what? Yeah, this, y'all messing with, Sorry, I was trying to omit some examples that I didn't want to mention, but yeah, they'll tell, hey, you guys are screwing up this thing. You guys don't sell that farm. That's my farm. That's the family farm. It's for, it's for the descendants. Don't do this. Or, let me not put it that way. I want to be careful with my words. This is why I was stuttering, for a minute. Not so much don't do this, don't do that, but, caution. Or, hey, this will not please me. You want to sell this indigenous land. You know how many of us have been buried in this land. This is sacred. Have some respect for it. Stuff like that. I'm just throwing out some examples, but, all kinds of situations, and this will come out of the mouth of a child with the voice of that ancestor. Okay? And this is one experiential example of how they understood that ancestors could speak, that they were still alive on the other side. And just if anyone was wondering, I'm of Tanzanian descent, so Tanzania is in East Africa, and my family's tribe is Wahaya. We're from Bukoba region, Kagera actually, Kagera. So that's within the northwestern corner of Tanzania. That's where we're from. So this is where the story is from. And yeah, going back to the topic or the theme, understanding the correspondence between those who are here and those who are there, and even there is here also, because a lot of our communities today, we live life, go about life with an ignorance, as if the other side does not exist. And that's unfair. Just because you can't see something does not mean it's not there. And it's important to recognize it, especially if it's still, on some levels, quite involved with what's still happening here. Or even if not too involved, because there's different levels of involvement within different, when we're talking about ancestors and their involvement with human affairs, they're not necessarily getting the way type involved, but their involvement is on a level of they were once humans. They once had a life here. They have family. They have a bloodline that they have left here. So there can be some sentiments of unfinished business. There can be sentiments of them being a guiding light as well. Just having some Kind of like the sun, how the sun passes over the earth and, just wants to make sure things are good, shed some light, kind of stuff. Ancestors also exist in a realm that is the time, beyond time, especially beyond time of the earth domain. So they can see matters of the future. They can see when the colonizer is about to show up. You know, my history teacher would give us stories about how it was not uncommon for a community or village to vacate because the grandmothers, grandfathers would have dreams of some enemies coming. So by the time the white boy, came to the shores, came to the coast, came to these villages, he would see empty villages because they already got the memo. They were like, "Hey, let's beat it. Let's go somewhere else. This place ain't gonna be safe the next 2 3 weeks." So things like that. Ancestors have the ability to foresee because they're not constrained by um, how we right now consume information, or how our minds are working is through the five senses, through the bodily senses, I should say, and also through the archive of memory. So the human mind has those boundaries, but the spiritual mind does not have the boundaries of physicality. It does not have the boundaries of only seeing what's here right now. It can also foresee what's going to come, and that's the advantage of spiritual sights, right? That's the advantage of being a spirit. And since our ancestors are spirits, they can aid us in that aspect, in that regard. So, and going back to the idea of the correspondence, right? I touched on that they may have a certain level of involvement. Thinking about what else I should say here. Because I'm also factoring in the fact that they also have their own version or form or dimension of existence as well. But it's also about recognizing a helpful role that you can play regardless of where you are, whether you are a human being in the physical or you are an ancestral in the spiritual. It's a certain level of, like I said, responsibility, or a sense of responsibility, a sense of wishing for not just your own well-being, but the well-being of what else is around you, nature, other people, dead or alive. And even when you say dead, they're still alive. So as much as people have, people on earth have all these things they want to do for their community of individuals they can see who are in the physical, people like me are raising concern about those that are not in the physical, who are invisible to the physical eye, right? But they're very much alive, very much present as well. We tend to divide life based on how much we are so involved in the physical domain, and we think that this is the end all and be all. And anything that is non-physical, we kind of tend to shun, or say it's taboo, or say, oh, the God or the Creator put a veil to not see them, so we're not supposed to interact with those things. It's not really how it works. That's a perception, or that's an idea or belief that's not really based in reality or an understanding of these things. So the correspondence is there, and I'm saying a correspondence, but it's almost like a continuation of the dimensions of life. To be holistic, to be spiritually holistic, one has to regard the physical and non-physical domains of existence, and those that occupy those different domains. I find that's what it means to be a total sentient human being, a total sentient spirit, a total sentient consciousness, right? What else do I want to say here? I just want to flesh out this point so it's thorough, so it makes sense. The ancestral domain, or the ancestral spiritual realm, is also where people go after they die. So having some level of communication, interaction with that realm is a positive thing to do. It's a very positive thing to do. That's also the realm where the newborns come from, where the souls come from. They come from the spiritual domain. So having different methods of erecting a positive relationship with souls on that side, souls of the bloodline, souls of the family, souls of the community, understanding reincarnation, understanding that souls come back also, those that choose to or have the tendency or inclination to come back. It can be for unfinished business or so on and so forth. They come back as well. So all this ancestor veneration type work goes into play in many different ways, right? It's just a healthy awareness of the world. The world is not just physical, the world is also spiritual. It's part of the world, it's part of what is, it's part of what all this stuff is. Okay, what else can I say? So if the condition within the sorry, I was about to say if the condition with the ancestral veneration. If the condition within the ancestral realms is much more beautiful, prosperous, if there's good well-being there, if they're taken care of, if things are good there, right? You can expect more of the same to mirror down on Earth within the earthly communities, because what's of a higher vibrational, the dimensions of existence that are of a higher vibration tend to usually impact those that are of a lower vibratory existence, right? So the spiritual dimensions, the conditions that are there, right? It tends to rain down here. It's kind of like rain, clouds. The condition of the cloud will determine the condition of the rain. The condition of the weather up there determines what comes down. If it's light rain, heavy rain, if it's going to be hail, it's going to be little rain or a lot of rain. The clouds will tell you, right? Anyone that has had experience in traveling into other non-physical dimensions of existence can vouch for this. Things tend to trickle down from there, and this is like where the end product of those effects are felt on the earth domain. So everything begins and then in a spiritual dimension first. An easier way to describe the same point is when people say that before there's any action, there's always a thought, there's always an inclination, there's some kind of subtle energy that is underlying any physical expression, right? That's one way to look at it. It's actually a good way to look at it. It makes sense for the average person. But like I said, those who have also traveled can also see things that are about to come, see things that are going to be happening in the future, and a physical world continues to follow in that direction, they take effect within the physical domain and have expression in the physical dimension. I do tend to mix the word domain and dimension quite a bit. I don't mean to confuse you, I apologize. So, yes, and that's also why I had to bring it up, because we're talking about the correspondence, right? The correspondence of that realm and this realm. So, and this even goes with people who are saying that they want to improve conditions in the black community or any community that they're in. If they see stuff like violence, poverty going on in their communities, and they want to, collectively, hey, let's, do something serious about this. We can't leave out the ancestors in those efforts, because they're part of this whole system, okay? I think I've done quite a decent job explaining it. If anything is unclear, if there's any questions about this correspondence between the ancestral realm and the human realm, or the realm of humans on Earth, and the cross effects, then please reach out to me, reach out in the comments or email, and ask your question. I'll be glad to answer it for you. Yeah, I said what's needed to be said. Thank you again for watching this video and enjoying this video series. I'll be back with another video soon, video number 9, where we're going to talk about the Day of the Dead celebrations, which happens on November the 2nd, and Africans and how they have this agreed bondage to European holidays. There's a book by Ishaka Musa Barashongo called Africans and European Holidays, something like that. He goes into this whole topic. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to get into. So, see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.